if you're trying to lose belly.
Alrighty. Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's TGIF. It's the end of the week. Another, I guess you could say, another week of adventure, another week of markets trying to figure out where they're going. Another week of Ukraine and Russia battling it out on the playing field of Europe. The center point. It's definitely not the best of times, but we see the markets the way they act, and we try to figure out what exactly they're going to do. So let's tune into the charts and see what the math is saying, and we'll go from there. As you can see on J4X right there, let's get that mouse. There it is. You see J4X right there. You can see that the all the red hinky ASCII bars. You can see our white lines have been moving down. And you can see it tried to get going and is moving down again, and so that means that they're selling the dollar. That's what that usually that is exactly what that represents. They're selling the dollar. The dollar is backing off, and vice versa, which means oh, there we go. Good morning, Marcelo. Good morning. And so, or it might be good afternoon to you at this point, and so. That's what we're really seeing at the moment, is that type of action. Let me just check my sound too. Yep, there you are. Good. So we see that going on with the Swiss against the dollar on J4X, and at the same time we see the same thing going on here with Chicago Quant. We've been wondering if we were expecting to see this thing try to break down to the little green line right there. We did a 50 percentile again. So we're going to watch and see how this goes. It's been going down, and a lot of little red dots all over the place. We had a volatility signal there with the red and the green on the same bar, and then now we're breaking down again. And you can see it's drifting down, 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 and down. The only thing that it keeps on screaming at me is obviously the weekly has not let go. Now, it's been in a weekly buy for 3 weeks, and we've been in basically a daily sell 2 weeks of those. I'm sorry. Yeah, about that. 2 weeks now. Let's see. We went into the weekly buy here, and we were in a daily buy, and it cruised up. And then we, it started to roll over here. You could see that. You can see J4X did the same thing right there. And then at the same time, you see the daily break down and go into a sell. I guess it was right here off of this bar right there, and you can see that pressure. And so, I guess that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. So a week and a few days, it's been pressing down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 7. So this is the 7th day. So it's a week and a half. It's been in a daily sell out of that whole time period there. And Marcel says no, it's morning. Cool, very cool. It's Friday too, and that's a good thing. I mean, we can use the weekend. There's no doubt about that. It's always after 5 days of trading and market work and so forth. It's the weekends look really great. They always do. It's nice to know I don't have to think about the markets and don't have to look at the markets, and I make sure my position is where it should be, flat or long or short. And that's I enjoy that. Hey PM, how you doing? Evening. Good job, PM. So you're on the evening side of the planet. I like that. And all watching, yes indeed. I get up pretty early. I kind of follow the European hours more. I get up in between the American hours and the European hours. 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning here, which makes it like 11 o'clock in the morning in Latvia. And then at the same time it's in London, and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I get up sometimes like an hour and a half after the open. Sometimes I wake up at the European Opens and look at them and then go back to sleep. Look at the tablet real quick. But and that's another. I guess that's another good pleasure is that the weekends we don't look at them. We just watch the news. So there you can see we got the Swiss moving down, which means the dollar's moving down, which might mean it's like playing billiards. You're hoping that if one thing occurs, then the other thing will occur, and then another thing from there will occur. So we're hoping when we see the dollar going down against the other currency pairs, we're hoping that means maybe I understand they had a prisoner exchange today in between Russia and Ukraine, small one, nothing major, but it was like they traded 10 soldiers for 11 soldiers or something like that, and then they traded 8 civilians for 8 or 9 civilians. So it's a pretty good thing. They're starting to some type of anything to stop this fighting and killing is a good thing. Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to me too, Marcel. I kind of follow the London, the Swiss, the Frankfurt, the Milan, the Amsterdam markets, in the sense, the Spanish markets, the Italian markets. I did say Milan. The French markets. I kind of pay attention to Europe in the morning. Yeah, I hear you. 4:30 a.m. I do. I hear you. And it's a good thing, I mean, trading, the markets are a wonderful thing, I mean, I missed the floors. The exchange floors are closed now, but I mean, it was so wonderful in those early days, to be part of that environment. So, and then the hedge fund world has only gotten weirder, and it was very good to be part of the hedge fund industry in the 2000s. It was a fun time. It was wild and woolly and crazy. And enjoyable at the same time. It was a cutting edge of things. I knew this year's yellow versus last year's yellow on clothing. I knew this year's blue versus last year's blue. Without a doubt, that was that environment. Let's see. So anyway, that's what we're hoping. We're hoping when we see the dollar weaken here that it, maybe the world would start to become a little bit more peaceful and stop running towards the currency for safety. Let's go over and check out the euro this morning. Let's see where I put my mouse. Okay, that goes there. This one goes there. There we are. Now we're good. All right. There's the dollar or the euro dollar position. Hey, George. Could you imagine what it would have been like with COVID and floor trading back then? I think we had some of those. What did we have? We had some events that got very close. I want to say the last one I remember. You're going to get a kick out of this. This is before 2001. So it was at the CEC, the Commodities Exchange Corporation. That was the exchanges that you see in trading places, the movie Trading Places with Murphy and Aykroyd, where they play traders and work for a brokerage house, Duke and Duke. I think it was right around 1998, 99, maybe it was a little bit earlier, 96, 95, right around that period, there was an outbreak of, it was a lung disease that had been eradicated. What do they call it? I can't think of it. It was like polio. I can't think of the name of the lung disease, but it was, they thought that they had eradicated the lung disease, and they thought that it was gone. And I'm trying to find it. Someone shouted out if they can think what I'm looking at. I'm going to Google it at the moment, because when I say it, you're going to say, "Oh yeah, that was pretty deathly." Lung disease. Tuberculosis. That's it. Tuberculosis. I didn't even get up to Google it. I finally remembered tuberculosis. They thought it had been eradicated. There it is. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, a disease caused by bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The bacteria usually attacks the lungs. they thought TB. They used to use it as initials. TB is potentially serious infection disease that affects the lungs and bacteria. Anyway, it was in the copper pit. I think it showed up in the copper pit. And and the traders still traded on the floors. I forget what they did. They offered injections to the copper pit, but a breakout of tuberculosis happened in the copper pit, and the rest of the exchange, we would walk by the copper pit. I never really thought about it too hard, but everybody who traded at the copper pit, got themselves tuberculosis shots. So we would have laughed it off. Traders on the floors were pretty tenacious. I remember there was another time there was something like that. It was a swine flu. And people just kind of shook it off, We used to laugh it off on bombings. We would be threatened. They would threaten to bomb us every so often. We'd have to evacuate the floors, that type of thing. So I think that answers your question about that, George. Now, PM says, Doc, I watched a doc movie after you stream a few nights ago to see what your trading on the floor may have been like. It's called the Floored. I think I've seen Floored. I think, but you know what the better one is Trading Places. Let me just Google Floored. I think I saw that. Let me see. I'm gonna Google it, and then I'll remember. Trading Places, what to me was the best. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a good pit. Floored. So I'm getting past the commercial on it. Dismiss. Floor DVD, Blu-ray. Let's see. Oh yeah. That's right. I remember that. I think I'm in that. Robin's in there, I know. Let's see, what exchange is that? I can tell you right from the beginning. Where's that? That's got to be this. Is that the CBO2? Yeah, it's a CBO2. Yeah, and that is. I can't tell. I could put the volume up. Oh, there's Rick Santelli. So it must be the bond market. The first one comes out in the CME. I see that. Matter of fact, the CME one, I think I can see Robin. So yeah, and probably the best one I really enjoy itself is Trading Places. I watch that all the time because I kind of they're interviewing a floor clerk in Chicago. Cool. Yeah, it's a good. Yeah, you're right. That's pretty good. That's a history of trading. Let's see. Oh, it was interesting. Marcelo says communism. Was that the disease? No. The floors were full of patriots and traders. Upstairs, in the retail side, where they, the retail side that brings in money, that's where the communists are. Yeah, that's where all the Democrats are. That's where they are. Not on the floors. The floors were full of conservatives and traders and aggressive types. Consumption, they called it, I think in Doc Holliday's days, tuberculosis. Yeah, and they thought they had eradicated it. TB. Yeah, definitely. PM, watch that. Yeah, the floor. I watched it. I watched a few about the minute here now. I have on. Matter of fact, I think I see Robin's head. Let's see. In where is it? In 4 minutes in. I remember where he stood, and let me see if I can see. If I saw the year, I can tell you who some of the people are in the pits. Yeah, that's definitely that's a CBOT. On one, they keep on jumping back from CME to CBOT, the Chicago Board of Trade. Now they're merged together. Yeah, very entertaining. To me, I love Duke and Duke. The Trading Places one. That one's pretty good. It's not real. I mean, it's in a real a pit. You know, I traded in those pits, but more than that is it or crowds. Yeah, I just love that one better. I mean, this looks like history. I did see Floored, and it's an hour and 17 minutes long. It shows, you know, a lot of, I forget. I only reason I don't want to say I remember it really clearly is because I think I disagreed with some of the interviews. And what I do here when we talk, I remind people that those traders were more reactive trading. And today, in an electronic trading world where we're not on trading floors, you have to be proactive. Okay? And that's why, if you notice, looking in the beginning, how aggressive some of these people are, it's because they were reacting to trades coming at them, not trades they had to create. In other words, they didn't have to think up what to do. Someone came in and sold it to them, they bought it, and now they were trying to sell it to somebody else who was coming in to buy it. They were trying to do the other side of it. And that's the reason. I think I'll watch it again. I'll try to watch it over the weekend, and I'll give you my opinion on Monday. But I think I remember that's what bothered me about it, is they didn't differentiate between proactive trading and reactive trading. And I think that's what, I mean, the visual makes sense. You can see the crowds trading, and you can see the clerks, and you can see orders moving and so forth. But I think I was disappointed that they didn't show you the rationale behind it. In other words, the actual real rationale. I think I might be wrong. But due to the fact that I don't have anything good to say about it, says to me something was wrong about it, because I have seen it before. So it's good for a visual and so forth, but I didn't. Anyway, I just told you. I explained. I'm sorry to get crazier. Doc, you used the same math in your quants in the floor trading back in the day? Yes. And so what I did is I used it, what they refer to is to adjust my gamma, my deltas on positions. So in other words, you know, there were times where I had some really large positions in the world, you know, for a floor person. When I was very young, I broke some records. You know, back in the 80s, I made the first, like, you know, thousand contract trade. I made the first 5,000 trade. I think I made the first 10,000 trade, and I definitely made the first 100,000 trade. I think, if not that, I made the first 500,000 trade, and the biggest trade I ever made physically in contracts was 800,230. Yeah, 800,230. I know you're probably saying, why did he do 230? Why didn't he just keep it rounded out on 100,000? So, yeah, I used my math to adjust my deltas and adjust my gamma, and so it made it more of a, you know, really made it a really nice winning trade situation, you know. So, and it worked on the floors, and, you know, I mean, I doesn't mean to rephrase that. It works everywhere. My math works everywhere. So it's, you know, it doesn't really matter if it's on the floor or if it's, you know, up in an office, or in, you know, in your basement or in your attic or wherever you're trading from, or in your home. You know, it doesn't matter. The math works either way. All right. Let's see. Where else are we? I'll keep on rolling along. Let's take a look at that euro. But if you have any more questions, please fire them out. I'm happy to answer them. And I will check out that movie, Floored. But I think that was what the problem was, what I suggested it was. But the movie itself is great. You know, it shows you history. I think I see Robin 5 or 6 times in it. Let's see. From the euro, you can see euro is moving up. It's trying to move up. You know, it just broke down here, and now you can see it's trying to move back up again. You see we have a little, let's make it a little bit bigger too. You can see here we have a little green histogram, Hinky-ASCII bar. It's starting to develop. Let's check it out on Chicago Quant, right there. Yeah, see, we've got a red and a green again. Right here. We got the red and the green popping out. There's the green, there's the red, and it's a plus bar. It's trying to move up. And you can see here the daily is moving up like the same way that the over on J4X, it's moving up here. See it right there. And our weekly, one thing is interesting is that the echo of the 5 is definitely, that's the dashed blue line down here on the weekly, is through the 0 line, which is interesting. Let's see if we can get this into a buy here on a daily, and we get next week we get this perking up into the plus area through the manifold, if nothing else. It's going to be a good signal. We'll be writing an article for Dukascopy. We're going to start putting an article into Dukascopy when we see some really, really good trades. Let's see what else we got going on there. But you guys have thrown out some really fun things today on the chat line. I miss, I love that. That's what you know what, that's the most I miss on the trading floor, is the level of conversation, the level of thought. You had some of the stupidest people and you had some of the smartest people standing next to each other. It was amazing. Some of the things that were said and discussed. You had some of the simplest minds, some of the greatest minds, We're all right there. You had high school dropouts. You had PhDs trading and working along side by side. You know how many times you see a PhD working with a high school dropout side by side competing? It's a unique thing. It really is. We had Ivy Leaguers. We had athletes. We had a couple guys that had Super Bowl rings. They had been on teams, for football teams in the NFL that were trading on the floor. I mean, you had so many different types of personalities: judo champions and karate champions and bridge champions. I remember one floor I traded, 2 floors: the American Exchange and the Philadelphia Stock Exchange had bridge players who had been national champions and global competitors in bridge, playing card games. We had poker players that had worked their way up to high levels of poker, so forth and so on. It was a very interesting environment. Like I said, you could have the dumbest people standing next to the smartest people, some of the most educated people next to some of the least educated people, people from all walks of life, old money next to new money. The trading floors were full of all kinds of incredible things. Dynamic people versus, slow moving people and mentally, it was just, I cannot tell you how entertaining it was. Floored should say that. I think that's. I will watch Floored, but I could redo. I should write my. I should. I should take footage and describe, because I was in the trading pits in the '87 crash, and I was in the trading pits in the early '80s when they invented the euro and got rid of the Deutschmark. I was in the trading exchanges during revolutionary times where options were created and volatility jumped dramatically in the marketplace. Where a stock would go up $0.50 a year, and after options were created and allowed to trade, a stock would go up $0.50 in a day. And now they go up or down $8 or $9 or $10 in a day. So, all right, from the euro, let's go over to the British pound. I think it went into a daily sell yesterday too. There's the British pound. You can see, or maybe it's playing with it. There's 2 red hinkies next to each other on J4X. White line is breaking down. And let's check her out over here on Chicago Quant. Where is it at? There it is, right there. Okay, see it? Look, it's breaking down right there, just like on J4X. You can see our weekly has been in a weekly sell since up in here. I keep on expecting it to turn around. You can see the echo of the 5 on the 3-5 super. It's just trying to get going there. That plot 1 of 5 is trying to go, and I call that like an echo, because it's a different rhythm to the 3 out of that indicator. Because let me just highlight it a little bit better. So right there, that's a 3-5, and it's a 3, the green and the white, which you're normally looking at, just like you are on the second level there, on the daily. But the 5 super is the blue dashed. That's the 5 gas line, and it's the plot 1 out of it. Whereas the histogram is plot 1 and 3 in the gas line 3, and the green line is plot 4. And then plot 2 and 3 is the nonlinear time manifold that I invented, or the standard deviation thing going on there. So, let's see, where do we go from here? From the cable, and again, yeah, look at that. It's trying to get into a cell. I guess it'll bang against the bottom end of the range again, play with it maybe a little bit. I don't know. It would be nice to see it start to perk up. I want to see the dollar go down. It could be the beginning of the end of the war. That's what I keep on hoping for. All right. Let me park this floored too somewhere. There it is. Done. Excellent. Now I got it parked where I want to see it. I'll go watch it over the weekend. Maybe I should put Doc's movie together and show all what I know of the floors and the crazy things that occurred at times, and the good things too. All right, from there we go over to the Turkish Lira. See what the Turkish Lira is up to. Oop. Let's do it on J4X to start off with. Oh, I know it is. We go to dollar first, but I don't throw it up on there. But let's do this. Let's go to the dollar side of the Turkish Lira. Right there. Just to show you where it's doing. It's still hanging. Look at it. It's hanging on the top of this big rectangle we've created, and which we believe is the new range. And so it's banging up against the new range. You see there, it's still firm, and it's in a weekly buy, and obviously that means it's more wants to go up than it does to go down at the moment. Now let's put it up on J4X. And we're looking at the Euro Turkish Lira right there, which we think is the more accurate. And you can see this is breaking down. And you can see we do have 2 greens going on there with the lines breaking down. So it's kind of a neutral stance at this point. And then let's take a look at it through Chicago Quant's eyes. It is right there. There we go. And you see here, it's staying inside the rectangle. And it's still red. So, we've got 3 red dots, which I think is the more accurate, and it's still in a cell. So, and you can see the weekly is trying to curve down through the time manifold. And maybe next week. Maybe this next week is the week. We start this. It will be in beginning of April. And Mr. Putin started this mess in late February, right? February 23rd. So, maybe, just maybe, we will see, this kind of change to the point where the dollar starts to sell down, and we see it start to clean itself up, and then that might indicate the war is starting to end. Is that rectangle controlled only by central bank? I think, yeah. I think I'll tell you the story again. During the Trump years here in the United States, the Secretary of Treasury was Mnuchin. Mnuchin is a fund manager, and a really brilliant guy. I think he has a PhD in economics or something like that. Very sharp, runs a fund, very successful, pretty well respected guy in the financial community here in the United States. So he was Trump's Secretary of Treasury, and every quarter he would come out and make an announcement about manipulation of the currencies, who was manipulating and who was not. And when he started doing that, what he was doing is he was telling us that there was an official policy in quantitative easing by the central banks that and that the finance ministers and U.S. Treasury were paying attention to where their currencies were, and the only way you can control currencies is through your central bank. So he would announce, that these countries are not manipulating their currency. All is good. He would have these informational conversations about it, but he would never tell us what what the recipe was. He would just say, no, they're not doing it. They're not manipulating. He would explain it more. When Mr. Obama's Secretary of Treasury spoke about it, he was less informative. He really didn't even tell us all the manipulation prospects of it all. Just said that everybody was not, he would say if someone was manipulating, he would just leave it at that. Mnuchin gave us a little bit more information about it. And from that, I started to develop a way to try to understand the range that they were trading in, realizing that the only way you could measure manipulation is you had to measure it in last price, the price of it. And so it was probably a combination of volume and price to be able to measure manipulation, because he would say it's staying in its range. He would say stuff like that. He would say that we've seen. Then after a while, he would start to say there's no indication of manipulation by this or that. And then every so often, he would slam a country. I remember one time he slammed, or not a country, but a central bank. He slammed like the European Central Bank for the euro started to be manipulated or something. He was saying, and he would say that so often about other places. But overall, they weren't really. What's the word? They weren't stepping out of line. They were staying inside the range that they were supposed to. Now, I didn't see Mnuchin ever announce what the range was, but what I could see is that you could see that the products followed a pattern. And when he would say, okay, this country is manipulating, I would go and look at that country's currency over the last 3 months and see what it had done. And then I could I guess you could say re-engineer it to figure out what the range was that Mr. Mnuchin was following and all the other central banks were following. So that's how I established it. Figured out the range situation. I hope that makes some sense. I just re-engineered. So when he would announce who was manipulating, I would go back and look at the range and then see where it stepped out of the high or the low of it, and realized that it was out of the range and it had to go back into the range. Now, that Mr. Biden is in there, the Democrats, they don't give us much information. They're using it themselves. So, where are we at now? Let's go to the Canadian. Let's see what the Canadian's up to. Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you. Yeah, it was just paying attention. That's all. That's all I was doing, is paying attention to what's going on. Let's see. There's Canadian. You see the Canadian's still moving down. A little bouncier on J4X. Look at that. It's starting to turn up a little bit. I noticed the same thing last night with Canadian on Chicago Quant. Let's jump over to it there. It was trying to turn up. Now I just have to find the right mouse. There it is right there. Yeah, see the line's moving up just like J4X. It's trying to move up just like it's doing right there. Moving up. But we haven't hit the zero line yet. And you can see here it's gotten through the dashes already, trying to show that strength. So it's still lagging a little bit, but it's the J4X tools that we put up there are some of the best combined together that's going to be in the public free charting services, From there, what else we got going on? Oh, you can see the weekly. It's banging down hard. Look at that. The 5 is banging down with it. This is why we watch the 5. When you see the 5 break down like it did here with the green up there, you start to think, okay, it's going to break down. And then you watch the daily combine with it. In this case here, it jumps up here, staying in that range, warning you that there's a pop coming on the short term, and it does. And then you can see we go into the daily sell here, and now the weekly has penetrated the 0 line, which is right there. And then you can see, with the 5, or the echo as I like to call it nowadays, with it breaking down like that, especially when the two get close to each other, you're going to get some pressure. And sure enough, look at that pressure. You get into a daily sell, and it drops. It drops from, what is that, the 127.7 area as a high, down to yesterday, the 125 area. So it, over a 6-7 day period, bang, smash-o, All right, now that's the Canadian, and from the Canadian, what we usually do is we look at the oil, because Canada is an oil nation, and then at the same time, they're heavy minerals, and at the same time, we look at not only the oil market, we'll look at the gold market at the same time. So now, what's interesting is that the reason why this thing is probably trying to aim up, I'm going to just say this ahead of time before I show you the oil charts, and I'll show just point it out on both of these products, these charting systems. You can see it here on J4X. It's trying to head up, and what's it trying to tell us? It's talking to us. It's telling us something. It's telling us that buyers are starting to come in, even with the price dropping. The buyers are just not, they're starting to, I guess you could say they're starting to slow down or run out of steam. And then at the same time, we're seeing in the oil market, let's just show it to you right, where's that, right there, the oil market is going down, which is which slows the Canadian from going down and starts to turn it up. In this case here, you can see the last 2 days, we went to the sell yesterday there, and it's down. It's nothing major in the sense of, obviously, it's no big drops like that, but we're in the weekly buy still, but there's pressure building. Pressure building. I don't know how long that'll last, and they'll probably turn around and head up again. The world needs energy, and they're starting to learn that they're not going to get it from solar collectors and windmills. They'll get 2% of it from it, but they're not going to get 50% of it. It just doesn't exist. So, alternative sources is the way to go. Everything, wind, solar, nuclear, gas, oil, all of it. Hydroelectric, from rivers and streams, things like that. Let's see, what is that? That's the oil. That's May oil. Yeah. So, we're seeing over here on J4X, you can see the Canadian is trying to bounce back up, and just as right there, same thing. It's stalling out. Falling now. It's stalling out. You can see this is going on. I don't know if we're going to get a move back into the buy, or it'll just be a couple day digestion and then head back down again. And then maybe oil will go sideways. Just oil staying here and going sideways is pretty aggressive in its own right. You're looking at what is it, like in the teens? Where is it at? It's trading at 109. That's pretty high up oil in price, So some of the brokerage houses are saying you're going to see 150, 160 over the next, so it has room for, they say, $40 or $50 more on the upside. All right. From there, we go over to gold. We'll take a look at gold real quick. Right there. There it is. Gold is kind of stalled out. They popped it up yesterday. It's stalling out now. Maybe maybe it's going to digest a little bit here. We're in the weekly. When we started this week, this thing was the green line was under in the weekly sell, and then it jumped into the daily buy, and sure enough, that same day the weekly perked right back up again. But if we go back and show you charts of like Monday, Tuesday, you can see this green line was underneath. We had that pink little circle going on there. So from there, we drift over. Oops, what did I do? I just pushed something wrong there. So from there, we're going to leave gold up there for a second, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to J4X, and we're going to put up South African Rand. And with gold going up, normally the rand finds a way to go down. Gain against the dollar, in other words. And you can see it there. Lots of red, and matching up with the gold trying to lift up. And I mean, right there is what March 1st, and right there is, what is that? That's March 8th. So with that, there's that March 1st, right? Where's March 1st? Right there. There's March 1st. And you can see it, climbed up with gold up to that point, I guess. Right there, gold was there. It marched with it. The South African rand up. And now you can see it. Gold is just up to here, but we're seeing 4 or 5 month lows now on the South African rand. We haven't been down this level since, geez, it's like November, October of last year now, 5 months ago. So we're seeing that pressure from the gold in a good way for the people in South Africa. For us, we just like to see the dollar lose a little value once in a while. It makes us feel like the world is somewhat sane, Markets need to go up and down. They need to ebb and flow. And when they don't, it gets very disturbing. That's how I discovered back in 2008 and 9 that the Federal Reserve was buying equities. And, that was unheard of. The Fed buying equities. People said that you had to wear tinfoil on your heads to say something like that. And I was telling traders around the country, I wasn't doing Dukascopy back then, and I was telling traders around the country, the Fed is buying futures. They're buying equities. They're buying something. They're buying bonds. They're doing it all. And people would be like, how do you know? I said, because no one would trade like that. The market stopped ebbing and flowing. They started to just buy high, buy higher. Normal markets, it's buy low, sell high. It goes high, you sell it. You don't buy more of it. And throughout the night, so I was seeing all I saw was buying. And it was like, they won't let this thing go down. And nobody in this world has money like that except for the central banks to do that. So I had to assume automatically just an analysis of it in my head said, who has that much money that would make that type of risk and trade that stupidly, where they would buy it and then buy it again, and the moment it downticked once, instead of like 50 ticks, they would buy more of it in the same volume. Well, only the central banks have that type of money. No trader with their own money, not even a manager with their clients' money would trade like that. They would never trade like that. It's stupid. But the central banks can do it because they print money. So if you can print money whenever you need it, why not? Did you know there's an asteroid made of gold orbiting somewhere, and they want to visit it? Gold value is in danger. Yes, I think about that a lot too. Seriously, Marcella. Elon Musk he's been building a fleet of spaceships. He has he has 2 dragons. He calls them dragons. He has 2 dragons parked at the space station all the time, in case they need something. So he's put them up into space. All he has to do is bring more fuel, I think, to them and boosters, and they can get out of orbit. And then he has Starship. And Starship is like a 40 stories. Can you imagine that? It's like a skyscraper. 40-story building is pretty tall. It's called Starship. And he plans on using that to travel throughout the solar system. And it's supposed to do mining. And he's been looking at that asteroid. And it has like, I don't know, something like $10 trillion worth of gold on it at today's values, or something like that. It has some crazy number like that, 10 trillion. Yeah. So he's been eyeballing it, and I believe he keeps on building ships. I think he's got like 24 spaceships now. He's just been building them and building them and building them. He's stockpiling them. He has his own space center in West Texas, right near what's his name? Jeff Bezos' space center. Jeff Bezos has a space center out there too. These guys have enough money. They have enough money. They can build space centers, for $500 million. They can pull it out of their pocket and build it. I mean, what's Elon worth? Something like $300 billion, and Bezos is worth like 80 or 90 billion, something like that. He built it when he was married. So at that time they had something like 140 or 150 billion dollars. So I mean, he built a space center there, and he has a few ships out there, Blue Horizon and so forth. And yeah, I do think about that too. I don't know, I maybe remember, they've kept gold and silver pretty pressed down as far as I'm concerned. So and they're short the daylights out of it. Maybe when they find it, that's why the central banks feel so comfortable about being short gold. Maybe they figured that the price is going to get slammed when they bring interstellar or inter-solar system gold onto the Earth. So that might be it. I mean, there's not much of an explanation. There's only one real explanation to why the central banks sell gold, and that is to keep the markets calm. So it might be there. No, they could park it in orbit in barges and then bring it down slowly. Remember, it's cheap to come back down. It's expensive to go up. That's why he's parking Dragons. He's parking spaceships up and docking them at the space station now. So when he sends a spaceship up, sometimes he has 3 or 4 spaceships in lower orbit. I mean, the media doesn't really talk about it, but it would, it's definitely. Matter of fact, I saw a headline this morning. Let me go read you the headline, since we're in that direction and it's a Friday. There it is, right there. Okay. It was the Russian Space Agency. Let me see where I'll find it. Russia's top space official says no more launching European satellites. And then underneath it says Elon Musk's SpaceX to the rescue? ? He's got plenty. His ships lift more than the Soyuz does. So his ships have ability to lift more weight than the Soyuz to get into orbit. And at the same time, he has a lot of them. He could send 5 or 6 of them up there, treat them like barges, let them sit there, come in, mine all that gold, bring it back to the space station, transfer it onto his ships, and then they just drop right down into Earth and deliver it. And it's cheap to bring it back. It's expensive to take it up. I hope that makes sense. All right, where are we at now? Oh yeah, we were looking at South African Rand, and then let's see. We'll go to the yen. There's the yen. That's why I think I'm going to write articles for Dukascopy now. I talked to Giannis about it, and he said I can, because we published that article right there saying this thing wants to take off. We just thought it would pop, it would die out around here. But who cares? If you guys make half of that trade, I'm sure you'll all be happy. And over on Chicago Quant, I'm going to, it's like Voldemort in Harry Potter. I'm just going to put a picture up there. I'm not going to say what it is. But some of you can see what it says right there. And now we'll go to the yen. But we keep, every day I watch this chart, hoping that it goes slamming down, because maybe then the war will be over with. And there's the yen. And you can see there it's starting to top out a little bit. You can see our line turning down there. Our weekly is, marching along pretty happily there. You can see that. I guess we could. I made the blue solid because of the way it was taking off with it. That's why I wrote an article about it. The green line and on the super right there, the green line and the blue were literally on top of each other, going through the time manifold, and I wrote the article I guess right there on the daily buy. That was the daily buy right there. I wrote the article there saying, I wrote it on that day saying, looks like we'll break, third time's a charm. We broke the 5-year there. We hit the 5-year again there. And this time I expected to see it break through the 5-year because it was jumping into a daily buy that morning. And so I wrote that article, and sure enough, it exploded. And we'll write an article. When I see a really good trade, it's going to be on Dukascopy before it goes to any other place. I'll publish it in Dukascopy first. What's this? Okay. All right. From there, you can see the yen is trying to curve here, just like we're curving there. You see the curve going on there, and you see the curve going on there. And you can see this is a down day. And I imagine this will start to go, the Hinky ASCII bars might roll over a little bit soon. We'll see. True. Let's see, where's it at? All right. From there, we go over to North America, our southern neighbor. We go to the Mexican peso. You see that thing's been banging all the way down to its weekly trend again. Or not weekly trend, its trend. Its channel that it's been established in. Right there. There's the American peso. So you see there, we're at the bottom end of the range. And so maybe what it'll do is it'll play with the, play underneath that for a little while, like it played above the range. They may have reestablished these ranges a little bit on who is manipulating and who is not, just because of the inflation factor. So I'm not that concerned about the fact that they trade outside the ranges right now, because the inflation and the interest rates are shifting, and so they've got to do something about it. And like I'd imagine, like I saw where Australia's interest rates are higher. Whoever's interest rates move up higher, you got to assume that they're going to give them leeway on manipulation. I mean, that would be the way to, at least that's my way of interpreting it, That's the only way I can figure it out. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where to go. Oh, okay, that's it. Mexican peso. Just done. And you can see over here on J4X, let's say this about that. You can see there it's buried down at the bottom end of the range. Matter of fact, it's at 8 and change. So it's really low. So it might try to bounce again like that. All right. From there, what do? We go to the metals complex. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. We go over to the metals complex, and we'll go look at all the metals. So we saw gold, kind of hesitating, but up towards the top end. You can see it there. And let's put that puppy up on right there. And you can see the, it's holding up. It's kind of sideways, but holding up. But I do want to say this one more time, Marcelo. I think of the same thing a lot when I see these dragons go up into the sky. When he's not putting satellites up, sometimes he doesn't land them. He just sends them to the space station and just park them right there and let them sit. Let's see what's next. Let's take a look at silver. There's silver, showing life in it. And let's put it up on. Oh, where's the lines? There's the lines. There you go. Now let's put it up over here. There's silver. There you go. It's the second day in the buy, but it's down for the day. We got a green dot, just like we have 2 green hinkies right there. And you can see the weekly is doing fine. Now this is a 5. This is a 5 super, so we actually have a 7 in there. If we wanted to see what the shadow is, something's wrong with it though. I got to fix it. because when I turn it on, it doesn't really do anything. I'm confused. I have to rewrite the code on it. Let's see. Someone's texting me. There we go. Let me just say that. 5 days. A week. There we are. So from there, let's go over to copper. Right there. Copper went into a sell yesterday, I think. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it went into a sell. And then, let's see. And then, from the copper, as you can see, it played with the sell yesterday. It's just a little bit underneath it. Let's put it up on J4X. Right there. You can see it's curving over too at the same time. And just like we curved over here in the green. But the weekly's holding up. It doesn't seem to want to, almost, it's trying. Let's put it that way. There we go. Well, from there, copper, well, since it's Friday, we looked at it most of the week too. Normally I only look at it a couple times a week, but I think the platinum is probably going to close in a weekly sell. And we felt that was some type of indication. Maybe that's half the reason why platinum keeps on falling down. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to definitely close in a weekly sell. Platinum went into a weekly buy a week before gold did out of this whole action and has not been able to, even like right there, it tried but failed to make it into the weekly sell. So you can see here we're going to definitely make it into the weekly sell. All right, from there we'll jump over to the energies, which everybody is paying attention to. We showed you crude. Let's show you natural gas since we're running out of time. Oh, let's see what Brent is doing. Brent is trying to generate down too. You can see that there. I'm going to throw up natural gas on there real quick because we're going to get out of here. It's come to an end. Let's see. Right there. There's nat gas. We would like to see natural gas go down. That would be another indication of more peace than war. So, all right, traders, we're out of here. This is Doc from North America. Everybody have a safe and smart weekend, and we will catch you on Monday. TGIM. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Peace out.